Awesome. Justin, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where are you based out of?
We're in Toronto, Canada, and right now it's
You
beautiful
are?
and sunny behind me, so I can't complain.
I've never been to Toronto. What's it like?
It's like a great big city, concrete jungle with amazing nature on north, east, west, south of it. So we're at this
Yeah.
awesome place to do business, but with all the greatness around us. So very exciting.
I think you might be one of the first Canadians I've had on the podcast. I can't remember the last one.
And the only Canadian that needs to be on it, so it's perfect.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So tell me a little bit about yourself, like your background and everything, how you kind of got into the space. I'm sure a lot of people are curious.
Yeah, absolutely. It started off in about 2017 when my wife said to me, I need a hobby. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Play guitar? Like, I'm not interested in that. Do you want me to travel more? You don't like me traveling in the first place. What do you want me to do as a hobby? And I thought back and I was thinking, what I like to do is build businesses, but more important than that, I like to make money. And crypto was starting to get picked up again and starting to get known about in early 2017, and price was moving in Bitcoin and things were changing. And I remember back many years prior when someone, I think it was in 2010, wanted to pay us in Bitcoin for something that we were doing for them. We were building a website or an iPhone app or something,
Mhm.
and they paid us 5,000 BTC, which was equivalent to $4,500 Canadian or whatever it was at that time. And I went looking for it and I couldn't find it. And I saw emails where we talked about it. And I know we were calling it magical internet money at that time. But then I looked back, I went, this is interesting. Let me get back into it. And then things just started to explode. Obviously, 2017 was the run up where people started to actually know about it, get interested in it, and wanted to really invest in it. And so I was doing that. I was trading back and forth. It was becoming quite successful for me. I was down at my family home in Florida, and I made a big trade. And it was a leverage trade, and it turned out very well. And it was I started screaming happy around the pool. I threw my wife into the pool, which is something you should never do, or at least never throw my wife into the pool. That's a bad scenario.
Never a good
But
idea.
never a good idea. But my parents were around and other members of my family and other people I didn't know and wanted to know what was going on. So I started to talk to them about crypto and Bitcoin, and it was like just well over their head. It didn't make sense. It wasn't like nothing made sense. So I said, someone order lunch. Let's do a lunch and learn. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We'll get you guys started. They had disposable income. These are people that could, take a gamble and see what was going on at that time because it was even, less of an asset class than it is today.
Mhm.
And so I went in, and 1 hour turned to 4 hours, 4 hours turned to 4 days. And I couldn't get someone on an exchange. I couldn't get them verified. We couldn't get money to them. And I just knew like it was broken. And for this to succeed in something that I had a lot of passion about at this point to move forward, we need to find a way. So three words came to mind right then and there. And that's everything we stand by today at CoinSmart, which is making cryptocurrency accessible. So easy
Mhm.
on ramping, easy off ramping, easy verification, all instant, and make it work. And that's really what we've achieved today at CoinSmart. So happy to say it all came from my wife
Mhm.
telling me I needed a hobby.
Well, you picked a good hobby. Is it does she like crypto? Like have you been able to convert her into someone that likes Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain, or is she kind of like still one of those people that's against it? Or is she
I
mad
think
because you chose it as a hobby?
No, I think she likes it now. I think she likes the idea of it. She's understanding it more. She asks more questions about it. More of her friends are speaking about it, and people around her. So she wants to learn more. So I think she is a happy. I think it's been a good thing for us and our family over time, building a great business like CoinSmart, investing in it, being early into projects, and really helping to move it forward. I think it's
Mhm.
helped us across the board. So I think she's quite satisfied with it, and we'll see where we can go from now. We just had a great announcement this morning about us doing a reverse takeover and going public. So I think she's excited
Mhm.
about that as well, and some great fundraising that we've done. So maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, tell me more about that announcement. I didn't see that. What is it?
Yeah, so we announced this morning that we'll be doing a reverse takeover on the Canadian stock exchange called Neo. So we'll be going public, and in doing that, we'll be raising $10 million as a go public round. And of that, we're actually oversubscribed. So we actually brought that in already. It happened very quickly. And in January, we actually did a small private raise to help us get through this period to get to that, just to give us more working capital. And went to raise $3 million at that time and oversubscribed then as well at 4.5 million. So there's a lot of demand. I think we're well valued as a company. We're well positioned, and part of what we're doing is not only as a Canadian exchange, as regulatory first and really working towards that, but also we just opened our doors into Europe, which is a big part of our expansion moving forward. A much larger market, a market we can offer more products and services as of today, and then eventually, as regulatory compliance comes into effect here in Canada, we have a real framework that makes sense and works for everybody. We'll start bringing some of those services back here. So we're really excited to really have a full-fledged offering. And what we're really looking to become over the next, couple of years, is a full-fledged financial institution based on cryptocurrency and blockchain. So the whole ecosystem, holistic approach, from on ramping and off ramping, providing banking services, savings accounts,
Hmm.
debit cards, credit cards, so you can spend normally use an account as you can, and then full suite of services. So spot trading, buy and sell, margin trading, derivatives, futures, all that sort of stuff, lending products, to give everything in one house, and they can do everything in one spot, which I think is really important to help bring the masses in, and again, make it more accessible to everyone at one place. They don't have to go in different places. Where they have trust, where they are excited, we can give it all to them.
Yeah, that's a lot of products to offer. How has Canada approached, crypto exchanges? Like, have you guys had any issues getting it going in the past? Or are they very supportive? Or what's the ecosystem like?
Yeah, so I think we've been working directly with OSC and IROC, which are our regulators in the space, regulatory bodies. We have a great relationship with them. We continue to talk to them often, working with them, hopefully, giving some information on how we work to build the best framework to actually build a framework of what it looks like to become a regulated company. So we just saw some new announcements last week where CSA, which is the overarching body, has said that we need to speak to our principal regulators to have a plan to move forward. So everyone in Canada by April 19th needs to speak to their local regulator to then have a plan to how they take next steps to become regulated. We've been talking with them for a while. So our date was as of March the 31st. So we've actually put in our
Mhm.
application already, and we'll continue to have conversation about that as we go through and see what the steps are to having that approved over time. So I don't think it'll be an overnight thing, and we're willing to work with them, work within the framework, work within the guidelines, help educate us what we do to them, and then back to us to ensure we're providing the absolute safest, most trustworthy, best service we possibly can for Canadians. We really want regulation. We think it's really important for the ecosystem to grow and have trust within it.
What when you say security, like what are you offering Canadians in terms of that? Like in terms of like the same level of security that you get on other exchanges outside Canada, or do you guys have a different approach
Yeah.
to that?
No, we use the biggest institutional custodians out there,
Mhm.
multiple different ones, BitGo, Fireblocks. These are what the big guys out there use. That's what we use. That's what our competitors use. They're insured. They have SOC 2 Type 2 compliance. They're all things that help for business continuity, so that we can always ensure that we have a plan. And it goes past that. Those are just two of the companies. We have many other ways that we do security that we don't really put out there for everyone to do. There's hot, there's cold, there's intermediary, there's tons of different ways that we do that, and it's very spread out amongst all of our team and key members on our team to ensure that it's the most secure and safe as possible.
What's your degree of crypto insurance in case something happens to the exchange?
Yeah, so on Fireblocks, anything that's on that system is fully insured 1-to-1. At BitGo, it's $100 million insurance they have
Mhm.
as a whole. So we have very high level insurance, which goes well past our AUM, our assets under management. So we're pretty
Okay.
happy about that, and we continue to find new policies as this industry evolves. New products like insurance come and are available. So we're always looking for those. We're being contacted all the time, and we do as much as we possibly can with what's available to us, and we constantly want to do more. Again, that trust and security is what makes things accessible, and that's always what we go back to. So whether there's a higher cost to do so or not, it's the right thing and the most important thing for us to accomplish.
Do you allow your customers to hold a Canadian dollar balance as well? And is that also something that's insured? Because
They
I
do.
know.
So yes, they can. They can hold a balance with us for times of trade, and those are protected by. In Canada, we have great banking regulation and laws where they are covered on the banking side of things and recallable and all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So that's all. That's just standard for any Canadian exchange.
Okay, okay. How many users do you guys have?
We're just coming up just about the 80,000 customer mark right now. We have a 330,000 person waiting list in
Wow.
Europe, so we're very excited. We're letting them in 2,500 at a time just to ensure we have the process of flow and banking
Mhm.
rails in place. And right now, we're just bringing more banks in place to make things more instant, which is exciting because again, we want it to be simple, fast, secure, and trustworthy while we're doing it. So that's always what we're working towards.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are growing fast. So is Europe like the first place you're pushing out to expand? Do you have more global expansion plans after that, or is this kind of like a first step testing ground?
Yeah, this is our first step. It's to a really big market. We have
Mhm.
our Estonian virtual currency and custodial license, so we're actually regulated in Europe to do all this, which is very exciting for us. Again, taking the regulatory approach first. We're also FinCEN regulated in the U.S. for OTC clients and states that we can
Mhm.
do work within, or FinTrack regulated in Canada for those pieces. And yes, this is our first step. Europe is a great breeding ground to learn more, to bring it up, to grow, and then what we're going to be doing is moving in later end of the year or early next year into Australia. So working with OzTrack to get that in place right now, and then after that into Latin America. U.S. is not on our radar for retail right now.
Okay, so as a US citizen, I can't use it yet.
You cannot use our platform yet, right now. That may
Oh.
change. See how regulatory plays out in the states will be how Europe handles that. So again, our Estonian license allows us to work with European nations and
Mhm.
any unregulated countries worldwide. So while it's unregulated, we could take it through our Estonian entity, but we're not right now. We're not focused on any American clients.
What do you
Apologize for that.
Oh, it's okay. What about Latin America? I know that's a huge market right now for crypto. There's just not a lot of exchanges down there.
Yeah, so we're working as quickly as we can to get that in place. Like I said, hopefully quarter 1 next year we'll have
Mhm.
LATAM on the docket of places that we are available. The hardest part down there is ensuring that we
Mhm.
build a good brand with trust, but also the banking. Banking's a little bit more difficult, but we have some great partners that we're working with now to achieve that. And as soon as we can, we'd be happy to get down there. I know that we can provide a great service that isn't currently being provided.
Exactly. What are the biggest roadblocks you guys run into? Is it usually like banking regulations and stuff like that, or is it more government laws or state laws?
Yeah, it's the regulatory. We want to make sure that we're doing it right from the first place. We don't want to run into trouble that we've seen other people run into and being asked to leave countries because you didn't do it the right way.
Mhm.
While it might be slower for us to grow, and but what we're doing is building a very steady base in which we can continue to build into the future, and we think that's important. Going balls to the wall right now and just shoving everyone in, and then
Mhm.
getting letters at our door like, no, you can no longer take customers from X, Y, and Z, and losing that business is not nearly as good as slowly moving into them, doing the regulatory approach first, and then building a long term relationship with those countries, with those customers.
Gotcha. So let's walk through CoinSmart because I can't really access it because I'm in the US. Um, what can you do on it today? Like, is it mostly just an exchange and a wallet, or are there other services that are popular?
Yeah, just because we're in Canada right now, that's our main home, and again, working under the regulatory framework that we do currently have here, we don't have the opportunity to offer us all the products that we want to, which we will in Europe. And I'll talk about that again in a moment. But in Canada, we offer what I think and what our users seem to be saying is the easiest way to trade crypto, and really the quickest. So you have a bunch of ways to trade. You can do what we call smart trade, which allows you just to quickly choose what you want to buy and how you want to buy it. Done. It's a market trade for you, done on the spot. Everything's really clear in front of your face. With that, we've also integrated, which no one else has done out there, which is very interesting. We've taken the ability to having to know how to pair something out of the market. So you can go from any crypto to any crypto or any fiat to any crypto or vice versa. And we'll do all the intermediary trades for you to have that happen in the background. So if you said you wanted to go from whatever to whatever, and there was 3 trades that had to happen to make that happen, we do it at one fee. We tell you that fee. It's all done for you instantly. So no more having to understand that. We also have simple buy and sell like everyone else does. We have a full
Mhm.
advanced order book, so you go in and do all type of limit trades, order stop loss, all that sort of stuff. So it's a full exchange with brokerage services as part of our offering, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Do you guys have like high limit services? So like if I wanted to trade like or buy like 100 Bitcoin or something crazy like that, you have a way to do it so it's not like on exchange and like affecting the
Yeah,
price immediately.
absolutely, absolutely. So we have two versions of the service. We have one called CS Premium, so CoinSmart Premium. That's for people who
Mhm.
are trading between $25,000 and $150,000 on a whatever basis they want to do that. Um, so that's one service that we have, and then we have a full OTC desk where you can come in, buying daily, weekly, hourly, whatever it may be, in any quantities, and we service you with best pricing abilities and during those times.
How's your guys' liquidity? As I know there's a lot of exchanges right now that are being hit pretty hard because they just can't fulfill all the buy orders. So there's been some liquidity issues. But yeah, I know you guys are pretty big in Canada, so I was curious if you guys had any issues like that or if it's, pretty stable.
No, we have liquidity is not a problem for us. We work with some of the largest liquidity providers and market makers in the world to ensure we have a constant book that's filled at all time. We go directly to our liquidity providers when we're doing a large block order, when it's OTC, or for an internal order that we're matching an axe across two users on the platform to do that. So no, liquidity is not an issue for us at all. We're very well covered in that across multiple providers.
Okay, that's good. So, okay, here's another question. In terms of like coin listings, how do you guys approach that? Do you guys list pretty much, everything that's reasonably in demands like Binance does? Or do you guys have a more meticulous process similar to like
Yeah,
Coinbase?
we have a very meticulous process. We have to, just being product of a Canadian exchange, we
Mhm.
have to do that. So we have an offering that was very stable right now. It doesn't change very often. The regulators that we speak to, they know what we're offering and why we're offering it because we do have a framework, and we have actually a 120-page framework that goes through numerous different aspects, which I'll talk about a few of them for you. So we look at the team behind it first of all to see who the players are in it. We look at the market cap, obviously, and herd immunity, how many other exchanges are offering it.
Mhm.
That's another important piece to us. The code base, how often it's updated on GitHub. How it was started and how it was originally funded. ICOs are not a good thing. We stay away from those. Um, the community behind it, the developer community behind it. So we're looking at so many different aspects to ensure that we believe that it has stability, it's done right, it's secure,
Mhm.
it's not a security, and all those pieces help us to make that decision. Yeah.
How do you vet whether it's a security? Do you kind of just go on the Ripple method, or do you guys have like different
No,
process
this
for that?
this framework lets us do that, and part of that framework is that the traditional test that happens in other asset classes, which is the Howey test,
Yeah.
to ensure that it is, and we look at some what the regulators are saying in U.S. and Canada across the world. Is it a commodity? Is it they're unsure of right now? So there's a lot of stuff that we are
Mhm.
working through and just trying to understand, and we'll work with the regulators to ensure that we fall on the right side and providing what we can provide in those locations at those times. And I think that's a big part of why we're working to become what they're asking us to become, because then we can offer all these different products across the board. And that's what we really want to do. We want to bring some more of those items. Lending is so big
Mhm.
right now,
Huge. Yeah.
on all different sides of it. Whether it's just lending what you have or borrowing for short selling or whatever it may be that you want to do, which is really not available en masse here in Canada. So those are the sort of things that we were talking about. Let's go down the regulatory path. Let's get everyone comfortable. Let's make sure we're being looked at. We have market surveillance, but also, what their job as regulators is to really protect the Canadian customer, and that's and for any country the regulator is an investor. Well, my point to them is I agree with you, and I won't disagree. But then why aren't we offering some of those things that people are then coming to me to buy Bitcoin with, and then sending it off to an offshore non-regulated exchange? That's
Mhm.
not very protective of. So let's get under that house. Let's have it being watched. Let's offer those products so it's all in a secure fashion that they can see, and the Canadian investors are very protected. And I think that's really the important piece, because with that comes better banking service. Again, comes trust, and it becomes more accessible.
Does Canada pretty much like mirror like the US, regulations in terms of like things like the Howey test and stuff like that, or do they have a completely different process for it? 'Cause I've kind of always wondered that, but I've never really known.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think that there's a lot of communication back and forth. I think they speak with each other, they talk with each other, they understand what's going on.
Hmm.
I don't think one does, then the other follows per se. Canada comes out with stuff after the US in some cases. In Canada, they came out with stuff first just recently. Look at the first Bitcoin ETFs were based here in
Hmm.
Canada. The regulators made that happen before even going on in the US. So I think it's a collaborative approach. I think they're all thinking about it, all being as smart as they possibly can. And I think together we will come up with a process and a way of doing business that makes sense for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, the SEC can follow suit with an ETF. I know there's a bunch of them that have been filed, so it's a matter of time, I guess. Um, what's your opinion on Dexes? Because someone as an owner of exchange, I'm sure that that's kind of like one of those things. It's like very competitive. So I don't know what your thoughts are on it, or like you like them, or you don't
Yeah,
like them, or
I don't have any negative connotation towards them. I think they serve a specific purpose. I think they don't really fall within regulation right now, so that's why
Mhm,
we stay away from them generally. I think centralized exchanges like ours are a necessary evil for a DEX into the future, and I think there's going to be some sort of hybrid or coexistent model that we'll see as we continue to move forward. And we were looking at
mhm,
opportunities in that space all along, and we will continue to as we continue to move forward. So I have nothing bad to say about them. They serve specific purposes, and I think they'll have a real piece of our future in the crypto space. But they couldn't exist without centralized. So I think it's all part of a good
mhm.
growing ecosystem, giving people choices and opportunities that they might not have otherwise. So I think it's an interesting space we're only learning more about right now.
How do you think that they could coexist? You having traditional, more centralized exchanges and dexes. What's a way, I guess, in your mind, do you think that they could
Well,
coexist
there's
with each
people
other?
still have to off on and off ramp at some point. Money has to
Yeah.
come on and off, right? So if that's the situation, you can't do that at a DEX. It's just that's not exactly not how they work. So you'll have to coexist with an exchange, a centralized exchange like ourselves,
Hmm.
to be KYC'd properly, to have all the right information, to ensure nothing nefarious is going on, and then have money come into the ecosystem and out of the ecosystem. So that's how I think it has to exist. And then centralized exchanges like ours were making accessible, bringing the masses on to learn more about it, to then
Hmm.
understand why they might want to look at another scenario, why they might want to use a DEX that is related to or non-related to a centralized exchange. So I think they have to coexist for now, at least, until there is a community or a world where there is no need for a centralized currency, which it's not a world that I see right in front of my eyes.
Hmm.
But maybe one day.
Do you think we could ever get there where we have like just no centralized currency and everything's decentralized, or do you think that there's a place for it in society and it's not going to change completely?
I think there's a place for it in society. I don't think it's gonna just go away. I think there's a need
Hmm.
for it, sovereign need in each of these countries for it. But I think it will change over time. I don't think it will look exactly as it looks like now. What it will look like, we're all going to find out. I hear rumblings all the time of Canada and other countries working on a decentralized, centralized digital currency. What does that actually look like or not?
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a wait and see game for me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it feels like every country is talking about, having some kind of centralized fiat system or currency, even the US at this point. So it'd be
Well, like
interesting
to
to
the
see
point,
Canada does.
it doesn't make sense to me. And again, I don't
Yeah.
know everything, but why, like, treasuries of governments should be in some sort of level of, cryptocurrency. Why are we
Yeah.
holding or not even holding gold as a back that's hard to store, that's hard to move, that's hard to spend, all
Hmm.
those sort of things? It just doesn't make sense in our day and age to have like silos full of gold in places. Can
Hmm.
a digital currency, and who knows what that will be or what it looks like or what it will be called,
Sure.
can there be something that acts that way, that actually helps governments move forward and not worry about inflation as much and all those sort of things that can be very helpful? I hope to see that, definitely.
Yeah, the problem with gold is it's just not a good form of money in a digital age. Like if you have your reserves backed in gold and the US owes Canada $100 million in gold. What are you going to do? Just ship a bunch of gold in pallets when you could send it instantly with crypto and have a system that works? So
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. We need to send $100 million somewhere. Well, hold on. We need to get 17 dump trucks. We need to have secure boat. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like it's weird. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't at all. Um, but I mean, there's like the point that everyone tries to make that, Bitcoin could be the new digital form of gold. And, there's the arguments that go back and forth. Well, it's not physical. It's not tangible. And then there's the coding argument that it is, and that, the code proves so, and that it has value. What do you think, in your opinion? Do you think Bitcoin has value almost as like digital gold? Or do you think it's still a payment system, or do you think less of it? I mean, what's your opinion?
I think it is a store of value. I think it is something that is meant to be held and not a daily spend. It's not my daily driver and
Yeah.
something. Um, what is I don't know. I don't know if it exists yet. I don't know if something that does exist on the market will become that and it makes sense. But for me, to have a digital currency that is everyday spendable, it needs to have very little volatility. So something that is stable, but it's not a security at the same time. So
Mhm.
I think we're going to learn what that is again over time. I think there's a need for it. I think we're moving in that direction. I don't think Bitcoin as a form of continued payment for service or for goods will be into the future. I think it is a store of value.
You don't think there's like maybe a potential solution similar to like Lightning Network, or maybe some type of upgrade in the future that might make it better form or suited to be money? Or do you think it's,
It might. To your point, that very well could be the case. I don't see it today being that. I don't know if we need it to be that. At the same time.
sure?
So again, I think it's a wait and see game. As I say a lot, and we'll say it again here, is
Hmm.
I still believe we're in the first half of the first inning of cryptocurrency. We're only the tip of the iceberg. New technologies are only helping us learn more about what can be done or what needs to be done to create the full ecosystem into the future. And what we have to do is we have to embrace that. We have to understand it. We have to let other people embrace and understand that by educating and making it easier to access than it currently is across the board. You know, I was with someone this weekend. I was having a conversation with them, socially distanced, of course. But
Right.
I was having a conversation with them, and I was talking to them just about lending out your crypto, whether it be Bitcoin or USD or USDC, whatever it may be, lending it out there, and the kind of rates that you're receiving for lending it right now, and it absolutely blows people's mind that at the bank they're getting zero or negative interest, like in some European countries. They can borrow money from the bank at 2%, 3%, and lend
Mhm.
it out right now. We're seeing rates of 50% a year, 100% a year. You want to get even crazier and a little more risky, you can see 250, 500% a year. Helping
Mhm.
people to understand that by making it easier to actually attain is a really important piece moving forward. And again, this is very, very early. Like, think about that.
Mhm.
You go tell your mom, you're talking about that.
Yeah.
Tell your mom that she can, instead of leaving money in her bank account that's actually worth less the next day, it's worth that much more the next day with doing nothing. It blows people's mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, traditional savings accounts are a joke when interest rates are pretty much at zero,
Mhm.
because, and when it's inflating away, I mean, why would you, I don't get it. Why would you hold your money in a savings account? You're losing money.
Right.
Like, it's not going up. Like, it's just going to be flat, or you're going to lose money. You might as well hold it in Bitcoin. That was like the huge push with the stimulus checks, is why not just put it in Bitcoin? If you did it a year later, your Bitcoin been like $10,000 up from like 1,200 or something like that.
That's
So
right. Well, that's going to be interesting. What happens in the states? Maybe you have comment on that with the stimulus check that's coming out. I think it's $1,400 this time. They
yeah.
did a survey. I think the survey said at least 10% of the U.S. population said they were going, or whoever were polled,
Yeah.
were going to put that into cryptocurrency. What does that do for price? Like, it's the supply and demand, and that's what people have to understand. What's different now than in 2017, 2018 is we've had these really large institutionals start playing in it, start you taking treasury reserves and buying it, and they're physically taking that coin out of market. It's being cold storage. It's not being traded back and forth every day. And that's incredible because as you decrease the supply, and then you see the public understanding that and going, oh, I get it more because we have these big companies teaching us or saying it's okay, kind of giving the permission that it makes sense in large amounts. They come
Mhm.
on and they want it. Well, the supplies decrease, demands increase. That's just basic economics. Price does go up. So I'm not one to make price predictions, not allowed, won't do it.
Mhm.
But it seems inevitable over time if we continue to see this path and move forward and see people playing in it, and not playing, but using it, I say, using it in an appropriate way in the right fashion. Um, this market's going to only continue to grow. And again, it doesn't only have to be Bitcoin. I know everyone goes back to that. That's the brand name in crypto. But
Mhm.
there's so many other interesting products out there that do some great things that are very helpful, whether it is for spending, whether it is for transfer of dollars, whether it is for infrastructure or provenance management, whatever it may be. There's some really cool stuff out there, and we just have to continue learning and understanding it.
Yeah, the thing with Bitcoin is it's heavily inversely related to the US dollar. And right now, you just had another $1.9 trillion injected into the monetary base. And the chart literally looks like a hockey stick. So there's a lot of speculation, Bitcoin will reflect based on that and will probably go up as well because a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin as a way to get out of dollars, at least in the US.
Yep.
I know that's a really good avenue globally in a lot of different countries that have the same issue.
There's a lot of
So,
people really scared of that. Like, yeah, I have a lot of clients I talk to all the time, customers on our platform, and the first is like, how much can I trade? I want to get all my money out of fiat. Like I'm scared. Inflation downs are coming. They're printing money. What do we do? What do we do? And listen, that might be a little bit alarmist. I don't know if we can just say it's like one or the other. That
yeah.
will happen, and you should probably hedge against it and think about a well balanced portfolio. I don't want to say put 100% into this, but uh, listen, I think COVID is another thing that's helped to push this industry along and some other industries along because we're just understanding that stuff can happen. We don't know when it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And we have to hedge against those sort of things. And when those things happen, the only thing we can do is print money. And printing money causes inflation. And there's no
Mhm.
other way around it. They said it would be anti inflationary during these times. It's untrue. I don't think that is the case. How do we work against that without actually hurting the economy in other ways? So I think it's going to be something, again, we learn, we understand, and this is just the first initial push. If we look at the S curve of adoption, it
Mhm.
has a flat bottom, goes up, and then it flattens out on the top over time. I think we're still before we're just getting into the upward curve. We haven't even hit that upward trajectory in this point. It has a lot of legs, a lot to go. We're going to see what happens over the next 5, 10 years. It's going to be interesting. It's exciting that a lot of us are in this and helping to bring others to understand it and grow with it.
Yeah, the adoption curve cycle looks really interesting for just Bitcoin alone. That's not even the rest of the crypto space. And most people forget, but Bitcoin's only 10 years old. And the rest of the crypto space is, just following Ethereum for the most part. And that's like a 6-year-old space. Like there's really
Mhm.
no history and track record. So to say that we're far along into this is pretty naive. I think we're very, very early, and we're just now seeing the interest with companies and banking institutions and governments wanting to explore it. And we haven't even got to the point where there's real products and services built on it, by commercial and retail, giants that we all, buy things from every single day. Like we're just scratching that surface. Like the only thing you see today is people hyping up Bitcoin or NFTs and how they're going to use it. That's not a real use case. That's just, media and hype and speculation. And
Well, NFT is a very interesting space that you bring it up.
oh,
I
yeah,
understand it well. I deal with it a lot in conversations, talking on panels about it. I think but like that seems more like the hobbyist version of what we're doing here. And I get the reality of it and what makes sense of it. As a collector of something, you want to know that you have the only or the original or one of something. So it really
Mhm.
does make sense. I just don't really see how it's overarching. Where I do see NFTs going and where they started, I think the idea from came and they've morphed a little bit over time, but where I think they're going to have the most impact is in digital marketplaces, and I think that's the key
Mhm.
to this. So, like, we just did We just did a partnership. It was just announced with Amuka Sports, an esports company.
Mhm.
We think that's a place where you're going to buy skins for cars. And we just skinned a car with our logo and our colors on it. And, if you want to trade back and forth a skin for a person or a weapon or a piece of land in a game or something along those lines, that makes a lot of sense for me. It's the only really great way of doing it, earning and spending in those ways. I think it's a little bit of a fad right now. Like, I don't know why people are spending in Toronto, here in Canada. Someone made a digital home, and sold that NFT for $600,000 of a
Yep.
digital home. That's crazy. That $69 million piece of art that was sold, which is an interesting story behind it. I think more of a marketing thing than anything between founders of a company or whatever it may have been.
Mhm.
But it's still incredible nonetheless. People out there are spending, whether it's 1,000 or 20,000 on a piece of art, which is obviously, art is amazing and people put a lot of hard work into it. I just don't, I haven't fully understood yet the real rationale and reason for NFTs,
Yeah.
based on that use case. I do see what it makes sense into the future, and I think we're still learning about that, which I'm happy to continue learning.
Yeah, so here's the thing with NFTs. It is a huge fad right now and it is a bubble and it probably will pop in the short term because it's all based around what you can do with art and collectibles and stuff like that, which, have a future, but that's not where the major use case is going to be. It's going to be the digitization of real world things and digital things because we're
Mhm,
moving into, an age in society where we're part of everything we do is about going to the moon and Mars, and the other part is going to be virtual reality and how we can expand upon what we can do here.
mhm,
So, to have like a real virtual economy, a real digital economy where you can do everything with an AR headset or a VR headset or completely through online without having to do anything in the real world, you have to be able to digitize everything and have some proof of value. And
mhm.
NFTs will be able to do that. So I think the entire future digital economy will have some type of NFT or similar coin standard base. But I think that's where it eventually goes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Um, I think we talked about a lot of stuff. So tell me what the before we wrap up, like what the roadmap is for CoinSmart. Like where do you guys see yourselves going the rest of 2021? What are your plans? What should
Yep.
people be looking out for?
So, as mentioned earlier, big part of what we're doing now is the go public strategy. So, becoming a public company here in Canada, and then for abroad, moving into Latin America after we go. Sorry, Europe as our first step, then into Australia and Latin America, and really becoming this holistic approach to cryptocurrency for the masses. Again, have a bank account with CoinSmart, spend it on a Visa, MasterCard, debit card like you would normally online or locally in public. It's a bank account like you'd have anywhere else. Instantly be able to trade cryptos, other assets, whatever it may be. Have the ability to lend it out all in one house, do borrowing, margin, derivatives, futures, whatever it is that you want. And then
Mhm.
again, come out of your trade and be back into your bank account instantly, all in a trusted environment. So to do that in Canada, being regulated, in Europe being regulated, Australia, Latin America, all regulated, and continue to show growth around the world and becoming really the household name for cryptocurrency with the holistic approach to everything is what our goal is, what we're working hard towards, and we will achieve as we continue to take steps every single day to make that happen.
Awesome. Well, very excited to see what you guys do with CoinSmart and to see this expansion happen. Justin, it was awesome having you on the podcast to talk about that and all the other, rabbit holes we went down. So thanks for coming on. Good conversation. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate doing this. Hopefully, we'll come back one day with some good updates and see where we are then. And maybe someplace have you come join our platform. So, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, hopefully I can join the platform soon. I guess I'll just have to get my Canadian citizenship.
That's right. Maybe a good thing.